What's up, SAS Innovate? Look, I'm going to talk to you like friends here for a second. I think that there are some things worth preserving. One of them is culture. See, culture gives us vocabulary. It gives us identity. It gives us stories to tell and a sense of belonging. The other thing is systems, because systems preserve culture. Systems, they encode our beliefs and values in repeatable and automated forms. And the thing is, culture and systems, they strengthen one another. Culture creates systems to maintain cultural norms. And then systems, they reinforce those norms. But if we're not careful, they'll also reshape the culture. That's what the smart people call a recursive relationship, because the system that's designed for culture begins to alter culture, you see? Which begs a couple of questions. At what point does a system stop reflecting culture and start to produce it? And who's creating the systems that are producing the culture? Now, I think these are precisely the questions that we're feeling today. Think about it. We've got millions of frictionless, automated decisions being made daily with AI. A hiring manager defers to an algorithmic score because it feels more objective. Or a content moderator who only sees the content for which the system was coded to flag. Research papers, news articles, even speeches, all the result of a prompt producing a result to be delivered. Now, I could cite others, but the pattern would hold. AI systems designed to scale human judgment are gradually displacing human judgment. I'm going to say something bold. We have to preserve human judgment if we want to preserve human culture. Now, look, AI is great for optimizing and enhancing creativity. It's even a fantastic thought partner. But judgment? Judgment is variability when there are no clear rights and wrongs. When consequential decisions have to be made, when there's ambiguity and competing values, our judgment is irreplaceable, y'all. And this is precisely why governance exists. You see, because governance is a system, right? Governance is a system for scaling our judgment and by default, preserving our culture. And I think in this moment, when our culture could be reshaped by systems we don't own and may not choose to fully embrace, if we're honest, governance is absolutely essential. But it's got to be useful, right? It has to feel convenient. And it can't feel like the path of most resistance. It can't be seen as a drag on innovation. In fact, I think the real opportunity here is to accelerate innovation while also scaling our judgment, but our good judgment. In all the time that I've spent focused on AI governance, I've heard one thing loud and clear. Leaders want the best of AI without losing control of what matters most. And there are 3 points of tension that we're facing. The first is moral, right? We need AI aligned to what we believe and value the most. And then operationally, we need the efficiency and productivity that AI has to offer without losing clarity and consistency. And then certainly from a financial perspective, we need to capture the value of AI without creating unmanageable risk. Now, these are often competing priorities. They're all important, they're all layered, and they all require the good judgment of competent leaders. And importantly, they all prove that AI governance is contextual. This is not purely a technical exercise. You see? What helps an employee move faster doesn't always translate to value for the enterprise, but the risk does. See, governance, it helps us to clarify both that risk and that potential value. But to do so, use cases have to lead. Now, let me clarify something. When I say use case, what I mean is a specific business implementation of AI. I'm not talking about a model that's just sitting in isolation or an individual who needs to, like, say, summarize a document. I'm talking about using AI to impact the needs of the business. And we need to track that impact. And this is where tools become really important. Leaders need tools that give visibility. We need to know what's deployed, where it runs, how much it costs, if it's drifting outside of its intended purpose, and who's accountable. Now, let's be clear, this isn't new, right? Governance practices have existed for years, especially in regulated industries, and SAS has actually helped scale good judgment in those industries for a long time. And that's why we provide tools like our AI governance manager to banks. That's why we provide tools like our governance and compliance manager to auditors and compliance officers. See, we recognize that governance occurs at different levels in an organization. The C-suite has different needs than, say, a data scientist, as an example. And that's why we have a portfolio approach when it comes to governance. It's also why we embed governance directly into VIA, because everything built on our platform should inherit the ability to scale good judgment from the start. Now, to meet this moment, we're going further. Our data and AI impact report that we put together with IDC found that 46% of companies worldwide are experiencing the trust dilemma, and they're leaving 50% of their AI potential completely untapped, y'all. That's why we decided that we're going to make being responsible irresistible. We designed something that's convenient, something that's useful, intuitive, and absolutely beautiful. So let me introduce you to our new product. We call it SAS AI Navigator. It's a software as a service, provides visibility into the AI inventory throughout an enterprise. And importantly, it orients around the use case that I talked about a little while ago. It helps us know how we're doing. And that extends to the systems, the models, the agents that all power those use cases, as well as the policies that are associated with them. So I want you all to see what this looks like in practice, like I would with any other group of friends. And for that, I have asked Christy Boyd to come join me on stage. What's going on, Christy?
Good morning.
All right, so Christy, y'all, is one of the leaders who is working on AI Navigator. She's been a part of this effort from the very first phone call when I said, hey, I got an idea. So there is no better person to help launch this product.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, everybody.
Well, let's step into a scene, right? We're going to demo this product for you. So sure. I've been talking, Christy, about AI governance, but only in the abstract. So we want to give them a practical example, right? So let's say my company is using AI. We've got it used in a variety of ways. We've got third-party vendors, we're doing stuff in-house, and we're using this open source model that we call open source LLM.
Sure,
all right,
yep.
All right. So in this example, we just learned that the model, the data for the model has been poisoned, right? And I know the model is authorized for use, but I don't know what's up right now. So I need to know, how am I doing? What can I do?
So that's exactly the kind of problem that SAS AI Navigator is designed to solve. It's designed for folks like you, Reggie, who need to make a quick, informed decision and then be able to move on with your day.
I like that.
Let me show you the homepage. This page provides an at-a-glance answer to how are we doing in terms of AI governance. Mm-hmm. Now, it looks like one of our data scientists has already flagged the model poisoning. So we can see our open source LLM showing up in the governance risk section.
Got it.
What I want to flag is that anybody with the right permissions in our organization can also see this risk.
Okay, so I'm not a bottleneck.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Somebody else can help with this resolution. Okay. Now, from what I can see, open source LLM is linked to two different deployed use cases. Okay. Something called a RFP, RFI draft assistance, mm-hmm. and an internal meeting summarization tool.
Got it.
Now, judging by the names, I think it's safe to say that RFP is probably the enterprise use case.
That's fair.
And the meeting summarization is more individual productivity, right?
Yep.
Now, since we're investigating a known data model poisoning, let's focus on the enterprise use case.
Okay.
To your point earlier, Reggie, the use case is really the primary entity in AI Navigator. It represents the specific business implementation of AI. Here we can see the details, the description, the status, et cetera. The assessments and approvals, everything is tied to the use case. Specifically, I can see that there's a number of policies applied to our RFP use case, including the third-party vendor policy and the EU AI Act.
Okay, so I want to pause you on that for a second because
Okay.
August is coming up. I got to get ready for the EU AI
True,
Act.
true.
Can I use that description as my intended use statement?
You could. We actually do have an intended use field that you can leverage for that instead.
Okay.
I would probably recommend that you consider the assessments for anything regulation specific or regulatory. Now, granted, I'm not a lawyer, right?
But you play one on TV.
I tend to, exactly. So, always consult with your corporate counsel on legal matters.
Right.
But on the assessments tab, we can see all of the questions and answers that are applied to our use case.
Yep.
It looks like in this case, our compliance team is on it. They have previously documented how to mitigate situations like ours today. With this information, we can reach out to the asset owner and ask them to kick off the incident response.
Okay, so I want you to pause right now with
Okay.
the scene, and I'm going to
Okay.
step out and talk to my friends if that's okay. All right. So y'all remember there was two use cases, right? We followed the enterprise use case because there was due diligence associated with it. And of course, in a real data poisoning situation, we want to remediate both use cases. We get that. If we looked at the individual use case, that meeting summarization one, we'd see that there are different policies and standards applied to that particular use case. And that's by design, because each use case carries with it different risk, right? We need to be able to make that risk distinguishable. We need to be able to make it visible and defensible. So in a sense where we've got governance requirements, we've got to make sure that we're not applying the same governance to both types of use cases that have different risks. So in the one case for the enterprise use case, we need all of that due diligence, but it would be really inconvenient for the other use case had we put all of that governance burden on it. So let's get back to our scene, Christy.
Okay.
I want to know if my team is going to be stuck. Can we still respond to RFPs or not?
Let's go to the asset inventory to find out.
Okay.
Now, as you might expect, the asset inventory shows all of our assets, the models, the agents, the use cases, everything shows up here on this page. We'll click into the RFP use case in question to see what we can see. Right away, I can tell that open source LLM is still prohibited, as expected, but it looks like there is another agent that's authorized for use for this use case, something called Copilot.
That Copilot one. Okay, I got you.
So I'm curious about the Copilot. You're curious?
I am too. Yeah, let's do it.
You all curious? Yes, thank you. Audience participation. So we'll explore it. This is the agent detail page. Right away, I can tell there's no open alerts. Their authorizations are all on track. But for an agent, there's some additional information that we want to know.
That makes sense.
We might want to know things like the autonomy level, the guardrails that are applied to this agent, skills that the agent is designed to have, and limitations that we know the agent has from the get-go.
Yep.
We might want to be able to link some technical documentation, like a model card, or maybe financial records, compliance reports, other documents that support our case. This comprehensive information is essential for governing AI agents, and it can all be linked here in AI Navigator.
That's awesome.
Now, the Asset Relationship tab is probably my favorite, so I'm going to show it to you really quickly.
Okay.
It shows you all of the relationships that your agent or model has, the models that support the agent, the use cases that it's linked to, the whole ecosystem.
Okay, it's pretty.
Isn't it? Now, overall, it looks like Copilot is a great fit for us. There's, like I said, assessments are completed, there's no alerts, documentation is in order. So I'm going to flag it as the champion for RFP use case.
Okay, makes sense.
All right, Reggie, I think the team is good to go. They can keep churning out those RFPs with the help of an authorized AI agent.
That is wonderful. Thank you. So let's summarize this for our friends. We've identified the points of impact. We've confirmed the remediation necessary. We've ensured that the asset owners have visibility into the incident.
Yep.
And we also discovered that there's an alternative for responding to RFPs.
In about 5 minutes or so, yes.
All in 5. I love that part. So thanks to AI Navigator, we've designed it for folks like me who need to make quick decisions and move on about the day. All right, so Christy, for folks who want to spend more than 5 minutes, where can they find you?
If you want to spend more than 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, come find us at the Innovation Hub right after this at the AI Navigator booth. And I want to shout out tomorrow, 11 o'clock, we're going to have a very special spotlight session ran by the product manager, Ali Deloney, and our partners at Protiviti. We're going to look under the hood of AI Navigator. So come join us, be there.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. Appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Yeah. All right, friends, as you can see, this isn't about slowing people down because engagement is not the goal. Exercising good judgment is. Which brings us back to where we began. Beliefs and values embedded in systems. Applying judgment, but good judgment, in systemic forms. But you might ask, for what purpose? To what end? Well, as we might say it in my community, I think we should do it for the culture. We should have governance for the culture. We should apply judgment, but good judgment, for the culture. Because we don't live inside of technologies and systems. We live inside the stories of culture. Stories that shape how we see the world, stories that help us pursue what's possible. And look, some of these stories about AI, they excite us, but some of them scare us, and quite frankly, some of them just confuse the hell out of us. But today we have a chance to tell a different story, a story of innovation and good judgment. And friends, that's not a story of idealism. It's one of human-centered design and leadership. And that's the story of SAS and our next 50 years.